The more educated characters are believable, and Betty and Jim are well handled. I believe, as a writer, Mr. Charles would benefit immensely from a Caribbean editor, one who has experience with the tonality of Creole, even when translated by speakers into English as they speak. I have found the novel, however, to be of immense value, particularly rereading the 2013 edition. It brings me back to my St. Lucian roots and values, as did the novellas of Gough Santoma, especially A Room on the Hill. I also should mention Leaves in the River and Consolation by Dr. Earl Long, for which I will make no apologies and recommend to all young writers at the beginning of their careers, those willing to explore the core of their St. Lucianness in their work and not Americanize it as they often do. I have often said we have so many poets and writers per square mile, yet few have made the effort to understand and interpret their native land, the native tongue, and its people, which should be at the very core of their creative being and give life to their work. Mr. Charles is fulfilling a useful purpose as he sets that stage, reliving the past in character, thoughts, events, words, and deeds. A role we have seen so often in the poetry of Kendall Hippolyte, Robert Lee, and the venerable sage himself, the Honorable Derek Walcott. I take this opportunity to wish you, Mr. Charles, good health, every success in your future endeavors, if only to continue to provide us with glimpses of our existence without the harsh intrusion of formal history and an American press, but through the eyes of men and women who are the salt of our good St. Lucian earth. I thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to live in Montcabwit. I am going to. Okay, now when I came in, I heard some people rumoring about my yellow dress. I am not celebrating Flubbo. I am celebrating authors with the Gros Branch Library. I'm celebrating Mr. Cornell Charles in sunny St. Lucia and its independence. Okay. Have anyone read The Provident Family of Baxter's Yard? Okay. Aha. Well, Mr. Ganchan Raymond, he will tell us about it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm giving you a moment to breathe after that last review. I'm going to be doing mine now. It's a pleasure to be here and to do this. I would have liked a higher podium, but this one would have to work. To begin, the novel The Provident Family of Baxter's Yard, written by Cornell Charles, is a literary treat. Set in the fictitious island named Otterbourne, the author weaved a spell-binding tale centered on the fortunes, and mostly misfortunes, of residents in a tenement yard. It was hoped that the young Victor Provident would walk the straight and narrow road and free himself from the shackles of his circumstances. But wishing it was not the same as achieving it. To begin with, as in Jacob Miller's Tenement Yard, and I'm curious, do you remember the song Tenement Yard? Rasta can't live in a tenement yard. Too much watchy-watchy, too much su-su-su. Remember that, right? Kind of nostalgic to me living in those times. So, tenement yard, as we have seen in Otterbourne, is somewhat the same. Now, take this account, for example, from the text. Many disturbances within the yard stem from a lack of privacy. All amenities were exposed and detached from the main hut in full view of neighbors. It is no wonder that so exposed, people would go to sniffing around each other's business. Some of the experiences of the people in Baxter's yard may be universal to people living in a depressed community. But the novel, however, presents the events in a more recognizable St. Lucian identity. Here is a description. Approaching midnight, Tabor City was suddenly awakened by two thunderous explosions. A German submarine, delighted in the sitting targets, fired a torpedo into the stern of the Lady Nelson, and minutes later, followed by another torpedo into the stern of the Umtata. Any guess where that came from? Here in fiction, it tells of the German U-boat attack of those two vessels in the Castries harbor in 1942. Consider these snippets of another incident. You may be able to recognize this one. The evening's gusting winds fanned the flames into a lashing and coiling fury that churned the stomachs of onlookers. Any guess? All right, I'm hearing. As the fire raged, the authorities eventually realized they were dealing with an out-of-control existential beast. Now, more guesses? Let me go ahead and speed on to give you some more clips of the same incident. The fire was spreading in all directions and was now a raging inferno, exhaling, roaring songs amid the loud clatter of collapsing structures and more. At this point, the city was sitting under a glowing red bowl that had suffused the night sky, helpless in the path of the marching flames. Good writing, Mr. Charles. I like that. And more. You'll tell me now. Tenuous claims of success in the night's battle pointed to important buildings saved. Among them were the imposing, which one in Castries? Need I say? This was the destructive Castries fire of 1948, etched indelibly in the minds of St. Lucians who had lived through that horrendous experience. But the Provident family of Baxter's Yard is not a history book. It is instead an intricately crafted work of art with realistic, credible, and engaging characters and varied, vivid scenes. Well done, Mr. Charles. There is so much in the book to evoke nostalgia in St. Lucians, and at the same time, enlighten and entertain the readers both local and beyond. The following are references and extracts of some of these issues to shed further light on the content of the novel and arouse your interest in it. Enter the gossips on the topic of superstition and the supernatural. You have to spread some garlic in your front door. Garlic, you said? Yes, garlic or spices with a strong smell, Miss Tilly said, nodding her head. Crush it under your shoe so it would look like an accident if you do not want your husband to know. They say the smell does burn its eyes and make it blind, and you can hear its wings beating as it escapes. Further, the worst thing they ever do is suck blood from people, especially children. Well, the book didn't say who sucked the adults. Here is an example of raunchy assertiveness by an unsophisticated woman. Hear this piece. Herman nabbed Jacko out of the arms of his prized concubine, Sissy. So just so you come and take my man away from me? Jacko did little to resist an arm pull by Herman while he savored the complaint. You see what you're doing to my lady? Man, I can't find another woman like her. I'll make sure I bring him straight back to you, Herman assured Sissy. You better, because I promised to chop off his lolly if I ever catch him by Mavis again. That was Sissy for you. And not to be outdone on the sore issue of sex elsewhere in the book, young lovesick Martin bemoans parental restrictions. He says, I do not understand why we not supposed to like girls when they are the sweetest thing on earth. I think I better read that again for you. He says, I do not understand why we not supposed to like the other sex. You see, I wasn't watching just now. I was just reading from my head. Direct from the book. I do not understand why we're not supposed to like girls when they are the sweetest thing on earth. I think you should give Martin an applause for that. Put your hands together for Martin. And I suppose it's not only I who like that. Mr. Charles himself liked that too. That's why he wrote it. Good. So where we go? There is Carnival, of course. Here goes. From his book. The crowd surged forward with delirious shouts of approval as the throbbing bass and tenor pans trunks the morning stillness. A 2-day marathon of self-indulgent pleasure began in the city. And it continues. Participating in Tabor City Carnival was a mix of all ages, classes, and races. A montage of revelers that have overstepped all borders of decency in a resurgent comfort of their own nakedness. I just like this turn of phrase, Mr. Charles. Very rich. And now, fait for so. The Alcide Pascal family, when I first read it, I did not see Alcide Pascal, you know. I see Pascal. But then I look back, I see the Alcide Pascal family was having a reunion and they were well fired up in spirit when the protagonist Victor entered and the conflagration flared. Here it goes. A screaming party or a party of screams, either way, was an apt description of the scene that followed. Father, mother, uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters, family and friends had all reached maximum ecstasy. And they broke out in song and broke away singing. Now here's something from Calypso Rose for you. What do you think I'm bringing to you that Mr. Charles wrote in his book? Calypso Rose. Remember this one? Fire, fire, in me wire, papa. Ay, 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 oi, oi, oi. I enjoy that one. The people were fired up, and you see the kind of irony there. Fire earlier in the book, now they're having a fire of a different kind. They were well fired up, and I should say wired up. Now we go. Beyond the foregoing, the provident family of Baxter's Yard brings you the problems that confronted Victor in his struggles. The support of his parents, camaraderie with his friends, charity of the spinster Baxter's sisters Mabel and Diana, kindness and hospitality of Dr. Keswick, evidence of class prejudice, searching questions on religion, the mystery of Victor's sister's pregnancy, and her refusal to divulge the paternity of her child except to the priest at confession, and more. Oh, the conception of the young woman was not that of an immaculate conception. However, to some small degree, as Jesus was transfigured on Mount Tabor, opening the portal to eternity, so on the fictitious island of Tabor, the birth of Sophie's child was a symbolic event. It signified that from there onward, the provident lineage will be blessed with better providence. Last piece for you. Mr. Charles, this book is a spicy bouillon. And to tell you, brewed in the bubbling cauldron of the writer's mind. Help yourself to a serving and enjoy yourself. Bon appetit.
We are about to make hair a little bit darker because we are about to bring on the light. And we will be acting out the first scene in the play, Verdict of the Gods. Now, I was given both books, but I have gone through the entire play, of course, because of the way it was written as well. By virtue of the fact that there was quite a bit of poetry in there, I guess that was one of the things that really glued me to the book. So I had to go through it. But within the play itself, today you will be introduced to the main character in the Verdict of the Gods, which is Arthur. And as the scene is being put on by Richard Ambrose, the soliloquy which introduces the character that is Arthur, who tries to avert the development or the redevelopment of his community.
The halls of merriment, your full face in stealthy orbits beaming through the canopy of darkness. Tireless in journey, your phantom glow embraces the perversity of this earth, reflecting hot suns in a cold light, circling the earth in shaded phases of waning crescents and half moons, sometimes quarter, sometimes full, appending against a heavenly sky. Clinical and transcending is your gaze. My form is jaundiced by your light. Your beams no longer find me in the chill shadow of this lowly tree.